Welcome to the Spilling the Tea podcast. I'll be one of your co-hosts for today, Megan Nilsson, aka Crypto Megan. And this podcast is called Spilling the Tea, unveiling confidential computing insights from industry leaders. And it's not your average podcast. This is the Spilling the Tea podcast. So we have a really special guest prepared for today. So without further ado, I'll introduce my other co-host for today's podcast, Lisa Loud, Executive Director of Secret Network Foundation. Lisa has a rich background in both Web2 and Web3, and her previous roles include positions at PayPal, Apple, and Shapeshift, and she's also the co-founder of Fluid DeFi. And I am the host of the Crypto Megan podcast, now co-host of this podcast, and also leading Web3 strategic advisor. So Lisa, take it away, and let's introduce our special guest of the day.
Thanks. Hi, Megan. Hi, everyone. I am thrilled to announce our guest for today. Our guest is from Autonomys. Autonomys is doing decentralized AI infrastructure, and which is a hot topic today. And Chen Feng is the head of research at Autonomys. I've been chatting with Chen, and one thing I love about our conversation is that Chen is able to bring things to the real world. He's able to take these complex concepts and put them in ways that we can all understand, even though clearly he's got a big brain. So with that, I would love to give you a chance to say hi and introduce yourself, Chen.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Lisa. Thanks, Megan. Thanks for having me. It's my great pleasure to be here. I'm Chen Feng. As Lisa introduced, I'm head of research at Autonomous Network. I have been with Autonomous for over 2 years. And also, I'm associate professor of School of Engineering at University of British Columbia in UBC. That's why I always enjoy sharing ideas, speaking with the general public, in particular students, and to educate everyone about what's new and what's cool for the latest development of, in our case, TE and decentralized AI. Yeah, this is about me.
I bet your students love listening to you. It's clear you enjoy imparting knowledge.
Yeah, totally.
So, Chen, as Autonomous Network prepares to integrated trusted execution environments, TEEs, which is where Spilling the Teas comes from, as you prepare to integrate it into your architecture, could you explain, just like for everybody, what are TEEs and what is their role in confidential computing? Why do you believe that privacy-first systems in Web3 and beyond need to use TEEs?
Yeah, very good question. I always told my students, when it comes to TEEs, just think of a castle, right? This old building, a castle. It's a very old example of a TEE. But next, don't go to this complicated definitions of TE right away, but instead asking yourself, what is the problem? Right? TEs are trying to solve different versions. A version I like most is the so-called secure remote computing. What is this? Basically, this problem is about running software on a remote computer owned and maintained by an untrusted party. Remote computer, untrusted party. But still, you need some integrity and confidentiality guarantees. Right? That is the idea. Remote computer, you don't trust the party, you need some guarantees. It turns out that the TEs offer a very promising solution to this problem, and compared to other solutions, right, like ZKP, FHE, like TEs are fast and low overhead, and which maybe I can expand a bit later. So, that's why we like TEs at Autonomous, right? It provides us a kind of very promising near-term solution. And that's why, right, when it comes to privacy-first systems, definitely, right, TEs stand out, right, as a wonderful choice. One last thing, because I'm in academia, right? So that's why, if you want to understand the opinion from academia, very recently there is a very big name, Dan Blay, Stanford University, and in his keynote speech, he compared what he is with other cryptography-based methods, ZKP, MPC, and so on. And he believed that for those methods to match the performance of TEs, maybe we need to wait until the end of the century, right? Now, so that's why, right?
That's
It's
a long
almost
time.
yeah, no brainer, right? For autonomous, let's bet on TEs. Yeah, that kind of what gives you a perspective. I will stop here. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's really interesting. Clearly, you're very well versed in this topic and you're very passionate about it. So it's always fun to get this expertise from people who are deep in the industry because this is most certainly the future. And you're giving us a really good insight into that. So we really appreciate that, Chen. And you actually already did get into my next point, which is going to be, why did you decide TEEs are the right privacy technology at Autonomous? So you kind of went into that. You didn't want to wait for the end of the century for the other solutions to be developed, right? So, that being said, I'd like to segue. If you have anything else to comment as to why you chose that in particular, otherwise we can segue to the next topic. But do you have any more to add to that as to why you chose it particularly?
Exactly. Because previously, right, we compared TEs with alternative solutions, right? And then the conclusion is, that's good. But now there is another reason. If we compare, right, TEs with this, like a conventional way without considering privacy at all, right? We can compare with that. That is kind of the fundamental limit, right? Without using any confidential computing, right? We know what we can do with CPUs, with GPUs, and then our second discovery is the following: even we add is definitely we will have overhead, right? It turns out that the overhead is mostly like 5%. If we think in this way, I mean, talking about like the GPU, AI inference, AI training, right? Then if we think in this way, wow, the price for confidential computing is not expensive. It's like 8% overhead. That's another reason I want to emphasize.
Yeah,
right.
huge.
Two reasons.
That's a very good point. I mean, 5% to have this extra added layer of confidentiality. I mean, why wouldn't you want to go that route? And then we can scale. I mean, there's so many benefits to it. So absolutely. I mean, that was very interesting. Thank you for that. And Lisa, I think I'll let you segue into the next question, which is one of my favorites as well. Getting into the next topic.
So just getting into the idea of confidential AI, which is where a lot of my thinking has been recently. I believe that confidential AI is critical for the future, our future. Like if we don't have confidential AI, going to be in trouble for various reasons, but it's increasingly entwined with concerns around data privacy and model integrity. So as Autonomous looks to adopt TEs, how do you envision them enabling confidential AI? And what specific advantages do TEs bring compared to these other privacy preserving methods, homomorphic encryption or zero knowledge proofs or others?
Yeah, so previously we covered 2 points, but they are still valid here towards confidential AI. One is TE are much faster than alternative methods, MPC, right, ZKP, and second, like TEs incur low overhead, 5%, I just mentioned. And that, kind of, there is another thing, which is very interesting, because nowadays, this modern AI, and in particular, generative AI, like ChatGPT, to train them, and to find, tune them, we need lots of GPUs, Everyone knows. So that kind of, to me, an important question is the following: in order to enable confidential AI, how good way in terms of integrating GPUs and TEs, right? It's kind of a big problem, and luckily, maybe the biggest player, NVIDIA, in terms of right, the GPU market nowadays. Who knows the future? Maybe future, right? Another company. It turns out that NVIDIA is so seriously right about this. For example, some of their products like H100, right? They have TEE capabilities. So I think, right, and this gives us a foundation. And then with this, right, kind of TEE enabled GPUs in the future, we can do many smart things, right, out of this. So this is another point. And also, right, like, as we say, like in the history, the price of this like advanced hardware over time, right, like this.
It does
So,
come down
right,
fast.
yeah, maybe, right, maybe like today, like, oh, H100, wow, too expensive. I want to use lower end like GPUs, right? And that, but when the price kind of decrease to the extent that like more use cases can afford, I see a bright future, right, of bringing confidential computing, in particular TEs, with this like AI, right, the confidential AI. So this is, so what will be happening, like maybe 5 years or 3 to 5 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's certainly a vision there. And as we discuss all these different types of technologies and why you prefer to integrate TEEs, I think it's a very interesting question to not only go over the benefits, but also the specific challenges of each one, particularly TEEs, because then we can be more forward thinking about it and understand exactly how it works. So what would you say are some of the challenges of these TE-based solutions that come with, these technical challenges, such as hardware dependency and potential vulnerabilities?
Wonderful. Like, as I told my students, always like two sides. It's like a coin has two sides, right? So as a researcher, we need to understand both sides, positive and negative. Yeah, like two things. Right? Number one, might be compromised because of the so-called physical attacks, such as side channel attacks. I have a very good friend, Professor Yin Chen Zhang, and his expertise is on this side channel attacks for like TEs. And then he told me it is an active research area because since we already know like the near-term solution, like TEs are almost the best candidate. So that's why, right, this motivated this hardware security community, right, to come up with innovative ideas to mitigate the limitations of TEs due to physical attacks, right? Like good research is happening, right? Some promising projects are out there, right? Just a quick hint. Because for a TE, we need to trust at least the manufacturer of that TE, right? You need to put your trust on that. How can we solve this? The idea is open source hardware design rather than just one manufacturer, right? We have some open source movement. This gives you a flavor, right, of like how researchers are trying to solve this kind of limitations. And to me, there is another limitation because of AI use cases. AI consumes massive data. On the other hand, TEs have limited memory. Now you see, right, this conflict. On the one hand, we need massive data. On the other hand, very limited memory, right? The implication is we need to make use of multiple TEs instead of just a single TE, right? So Now I can define the question: how to coordinate multiple CEs, right? So that we still gives you the guarantee of integrity and confidentiality. Again, it's an active research area. I'm hoping to see some exciting advancements towards both directions. Then we will be in a better position. But my last word, for this big Web3 projects, with maybe a lot of money locked, clearly be very careful, about all these limitations. So yeah, a secret network, is a leading project. Maybe talk more to secret networks, to better understand what are the limitations, what are the current solutions, mitigations. Very important. But someone thought that is so safe, because the security is based on hardware. Not exactly. Now we know, at least two things: physical tasks and limited memory. We need smart ideas, smart solutions. Yeah, that's my take on this topic. Thanks again for this great question.
Yeah, you've
There's so
certainly done
much-
the research, and that was a fantastic explanation. And we look forward to kind of hearing how it evolves.
Yeah, I just had some questions. You put a lot in there, so I just wanted to touch on a few things that you said. One is you mentioned open source TEs, and in this podcast, actually, we are interviewing some of the researchers. Sylvain will be coming, Andrew Miller, Flashbots. All of these people are coming onto our show to talk about their research with TEs. And I know IBM is also doing some research in open source TEs. We're a little far away from having something we can actually deploy, right? But that's exciting, and stay tuned for how that's evolving. I hope it's not the end of the century that we can use open source TEs, but I hope it's sooner than that. You also mentioned the limitations of TEs, and that's secret. What we're doing is, yes, the idea of having multiple TEs in the network is interesting and something to pursue. The other thing is that having multiple H100s can alleviate some of that memory limitations, because the H100 has a much bigger space. Making the TE and the H100 work together is not an easy thing, but that's why Secret Network is partnering with Autonomous, because we've figured out how to coordinate between the 100 GPU and the TEE. And I would say Fala is doing work in that area too. But Autonomous is doing all of the rest of it. And that's why it's so great that we have this partnership between Autonomous and Secret Network, because we can each work on part of the problem to come up with a major solution that covers all.
Yes. We are very complementary in this sense. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring those points up. Megan, you can go ahead with the next one.
Yeah, open source was the key term that you used there when I was listening to all your explanations and kind of like the path forward. I think it's a very powerful partnership. Secret Network has certainly made some very powerful partnerships, and this is just one of them. And it's really interesting to hear kind of like the depth of the research that you've done, Chen, over at Autonomous. So I think next we can go into a big topic on this podcast as well, which is decentralized AI and TEEs. I know Lisa has done a lot of studies on this and is very deep into this as well. So Autonomous Network had a strong focus on decentralized human-centric AI, which is very interesting. So once TEEs are integrated into your system, how will they help empower decentralized AI while ensuring user data and AI models remain private and secure, which is the ultimate question, right?
Yeah, at Autonomous, we are building infrastructure for decentralized AI, and then we envision and to integrate TEs, and to make decentralized AI better, in terms of user data, AI models, privacy, and so on. Yeah, here, I want to chat a little bit about some steps or milestones towards this vision, to make it a bit more concrete. Autonomous major focus is on this massive on-chain storage, because imagine without massive on-chain storage, it's hard for like user data and AI models, right, and to kind of enjoy this on-chain security. So this is what we were doing in the past. And now with TEs, we can like create values out of this on-chain data and AI models. So this will be amazing. Right? Previously, like autonomous is like AWS, like for some, right, like a Web3 version of AWS for user data and AI models. Now, like with like TEs, and we can finally create values out of those data. So one interesting perspective is like this. And now, since right this value creation process, now it has some guarantees in terms of confidentiality, right, privacy, more like users and more model developers, right, they are willing, like try this platform, right, try this ecosystem. And more importantly, because of the unique advantage of Web3, we can do the so-called fair compensation. That is, your reward is based on your actual contribution. And this is so interesting. And this, in my opinion, is one fundamental difference between decentralized AI and centralized AI. Right? Let me use a concrete example. If you give some of your like data, right, valuable data, like to a Web2 company, maybe the Web2 company can give you some compensation, right? But it's not transparent, right? It's unclear. The collection is okay? Okay, good. Yeah, let me continue, right? It's not transparent, and there is no guarantee that your reward is based on your real contribution. So this problem, right, is like a key, like kind of property of decentralized AI, right? If we put it in this way, now we see, wow, he is playing a very important role, right, in enabling decentralized AI. It's like this puzzle must be solved. Otherwise, it's almost impossible, right? And to like empower decentralized AI. So yeah, hopefully, right, this gives you a rough idea where he is fit in the big vision of decentralized AI, right? Why Autonomous loves partnerships with security network.
Wow. There's a lot to unpack, Lisa. I'll let you comment on that too. I just love what you said about Web 2. I mean, it is the North Star of Web 3, which is ownership, and now the contribution and the transparency that comes with that, because we're all essentially, giving away our data for free to Facebook and Instagram and things like that. Not only that, but like working for them essentially for free. So this changes that whole dynamic, and in terms of AI, absolutely. So I really liked the picture you painted there.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to unpack with that, but it's exciting to think about a more fair distribution of rewards, right? And I think you were not just talking about having users who contribute their data being rewarded. I think you were talking about also equally or fairly distributing rewards. So, one person who contributes a lot of data to a common repository will receive a higher reward than someone who keeps most of their data private, which is fine. People can keep their data private if they want, and they can share it if they want, but there should be some recognition of, I'm taking a risk if I share my data. Always. I'm always taking a risk, and I should be rewarded. There should be a risk-reward ratio there. So I love that.
Exactly. Yeah, and also, right, Lisa, you kind of hinted a bit about incentive, right? Because with such incentive, the like better quality data you contribute, or the better quality AI models you contribute, you are supposed to receive more. So this, right, incentivize people to kind of share valuable data rather than garbage data, right? Also, this like incentivize these smart developers, right? And to come up with better open source AI models. So this incentive is also very important.
Yeah,
As
and
right, Lisa pointed out.
it's been missing, hasn't it, for so long? We have the technology to be able to figure out how to do this and to do it, but it just hasn't been there. But it's exciting that there are companies thinking about this and working on it, devoting resources to actually solving this problem in the real world. And I really don't think that in a lot of times when we talk about Web3 and decentralized, it's sort of in a little bubble because we see the value of decentralization. But I think when it comes to AI, that bubble is getting bigger. Heard from the reports from the CES show, Consumer Electronics Show, which is typically not a blockchain show, right? But everybody at CES is thinking about AI. And what dominated the talks on stage was the topic of decentralized AI. So I feel like, as a decentralized industry, Web3 has really been looking for its place in the sun. And there's benefits to it, but nobody has really seen it as essential. And now that we're getting to AI, we see that it's essential to have decentralization if we want AI to proceed in the right direction in the future. So maybe all these 10 years that we've been working on blockchain are finally seeing their payoff in decentralized AI.
Totally. This is what I say too. We're on the same page.
Amazing.
Absolutely. I think on that, we can then get into our next question here. Lisa, did you want to go ahead and follow up with anything, or shall we get on to the next topic?
Let's move forward.
Okay. Then Chen, since you have so much insight on this, and we're really enjoying this conversation, we want to go a little bit deeper with you now on TEEs versus other privacy tech, right? A little bit what we touched on before. So there's several privacy-preserving technologies competing for adoption in Web3 and AI, such as multi-party computation, MPC, and differential privacy. So why has Autonomous chosen to focus on TEEs, and what do you see as their key strengths compared to other solutions? I think it's important to kind of set the stage so people understand better why one could be, a better choice over the others.
Cool. Yeah. So in the simplest way, the TEEs bring high speed and low overhead, as we discussed before. And in particular, I highly encourage everyone and to check the keynote speech from Dan Blair. He explained so well, why compared with other technologies, like TEs, are very promising near-term solution. Don't wait until the end of the century. Right? But now I want to point out a new thing, which is it's not only about competition. What do I mean? It doesn't mean we will rely solely on TEs. It's not like you can only pick one. And in my opinion, a smarter solution is to combine these with some alternative solutions, such as MPC. But why? A quick reason. As we mentioned before, the TEs have their own limitations. What if alternative techniques, can be used to overcome these limitations? Then it will be a very happy marriage between TEs and some alternative solutions. I'm not just talking about this. I have concrete evidence. In one of my research papers, we combined TEs with consensus algorithms, in this way, and this allows us to not put trust on one manufacturer of TEs, and instead we are kind of decentralized trust on multiple manufacturers. As long as the majority of them are honest, we are good. It sounds familiar because for this is the spirit of Web3 for Bitcoins. Like, we don't put our trust on any single miner, right? Instead, we trust majority of the mining power is
Right.
honest, right? What if the majority of mining power is malicious? End of word. It's no surprise. If for our real world, if majority people are very malicious, right? Kind of, I don't. Yeah, you can imagine what the world would be. At least I don't want to live in such a world. I'm quite okay. Majority are honest, right? I don't want to live a world majority are malicious. Yeah, so this is a concrete combination. I don't want to say too much about our own research, but I want to point it out that we are not alone, right? Many other research papers are trying to do the same thing, combining things with alternative solutions so that we can create a better future. My take home message is pick one. It's not like a single choice question.
Right.
If we say that, right? Be smart. Try to combine, multiple solutions. Maybe this combination can better serve your use case. We will see. But I encourage this type of research projects. I expect to see more and more because people finally and people realize, we have some smart combination.
Yeah, we don't have the confidential computing wars. We have the confidential computing alliance, right? So it's really interesting how you're talking about using MPC with TEEs in the sense that you must have you have multiple TEEs from different manufacturers, which is a bit of a challenge right now because not all of them are created equal. But eventually, as the technology evolves, having an MPC network with different manufacturers of TEs could really mitigate the centralization aspect of TEEs, especially if we have more than two manufacturers, right?
Totally.
I love that. And at Secret, we're combining FHE, very light FHE, with TEs to address some of the limitations of TEs. So we're doing research in a completely different direction. But this is the first time I've heard your idea of how you're doing MPC to mitigate the centralization issue with TEs. Really interesting. I want to read more.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Also, very smart move, right? At a secret network, as I explained earlier. I believe this is the way to go, right? This is how we make impact in the near term, right? Please.
Maybe we can link your. If it's not private, maybe we can link your research paper in the podcast.
Of course.
So people.
Yeah. I will send you later.
That'd be great.
So I guess then that leads us to the next topic, which is on something that's a super hot narrative right now in Web3 in general, and it's AI agents, right? And in a previous podcast, actually, with Lisa and Zoe from Fellow, we discussed the importance of DCC with the AI agents, the confidential compute, and how that all ties in, and how you can distinguish whether they're really real, whether it's fair. I mean, so many different aspects of it. Lisa, did you want to go ahead and ask him this question on confidential AI agents?
Sure, yeah. Well, in a recent interview with In the Street, CEO Todd Ruoff described future AI agents as tools that can autonomously complete tasks while preserving user privacy. Once TEs are integrated, what role will they play in enabling these kinds of AI agents, especially in terms of securing sensitive transactions or interactions?
Very good. First, AI agents are indeed very popular, in particular for 2025. And at Autonomous, I'm proud to say that we developed some AI agents, and they are doing interesting things. And and you can check out. And second, so how this key integration can enable this AI agents? That is a great question. Because let me think. I have too much to say. I want to give you a kind of precise and concise version. Right? Think in this way. If we view AI agents as blockchain users. Okay, and then the thing is, then it's no brand, right? And, oh, good, like users want like privacy, right? So that's why like integration can protect the privacy of AI agents, including their interactions, right? So this is like clear. And then immediately we will see an issue because the number of AI agents can be massive, billions or even more than that, right? Then it seems, wait a minute, maybe it doesn't work. Like too many AI agents, right? Like TEs have limited memory and other resources. So what is our solution at Autonomous? We realized two things, like these should be these like the app operators. We call them like demand operators, right? And they are not like helping like AI agents directly, like one for one, and then with these billions of TEs, unscalable, right? So we use TEs to assist the app operators, right? They help this like decentralized applications, right? And to enjoy all these advantages we just mentioned. So this is idea number one. And the idea number two is that we need to coordinate like multiple GPUs, right? And like keys, and to make sure that the capacity can match the needs of AI agents. So yeah, and this is like in our opinion, right, how Autonomous can leverage TE integration to support billions of AI agents. Sorry, I want to maybe say something a little bit irrelevant, but I'm so interested in this. I would love to share. One major limitation of Web is like this mass adoption, because compared to Web Dropbox, you just drag something into a folder. So easy, right? Compared to Web 2, Web 3 like a little bit user unfriendly. So that is one reason we don't have mass adoption for Web 3. Things are changing. More and more projects are working towards this. But what excites me is the following. AI agents, right? The rise of AI agents almost solves this problem, because maybe in the future, blockchain users are mostly AI agents.
Yeah,
They're
very
smart,
Oh
possible.
yeah,
even if, right?
yeah. They
Even
can take over real
this,
people.
exactly, right? And then I just ask my AI agent to do this dirty work, or create like Web3 wallet, right? Be careful, and then all these complicated interactions, all of them can be outsourced to AI agents, right? So
Yeah.
that's one reason why AI agents, right? They are a very good fit to Web3. They solve this mass adoption problem. Yeah, sorry, I know it's not a major like topic, right? But this reminds me of this perspective. Personally, I find it so exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah, we will see. On the other hand, it means secret network, please move faster, right? Because in order to onboard billions of AI agents, we need privacy. We need to protect sensitive interaction
Yeah.
between AI agents. Otherwise, right, it's impossible. So, right, we need to combine these two things. Then AI agents will be a perfect match
Right.
to
Really,
Web3.
very
So,
wise, very wise. And I think you're also tying a few ideas together and saying that the way that TEEs can improve the future of decentralized AI is really by combining these things, by combining public verification and fair compensation, and also the ability to support billions of AI agents fairly.
totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
that's really, and I know you had mentioned you had a paper you recommended that people read to get more information? Did you want to mention that paper, or we can also
So So let's make it easy. Maybe I'm already like speaking too much, right? I will share all the papers what I mentioned today with you, and then for each paper I will put a quick comment.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. I'm
Fantastic.
sure that will help some of our more technical users like deep dive into what you're thinking and what you've been doing on the research. I think with that, let's talk about like the higher level. What is your vision for confidential AI and Web3 in the future?
So vision about confidential AI and Web3 in the future, right? So we already covered multiple, well, maybe I can call most important parts, right? And the number one, like we need to onboard like billions of users. AI agents could be, right, like most of them. So, and this requires scalability. The kind of scalability we never saw before, right? But this is happening. I'm not saying that it's something impossible, right? I'm saying that this is happening. And then, right, this scalability allows us to offer massive on-chain storage, because without like data storage, right, it will be a disaster. So here, a quick, like, a quick aspect. Currently, most Web3 projects, their on-chain storage too expensive. 1 gigabyte of data can easily cost you millions of dollars.
Yeah.
This is too bad, right? With this, 1 gigabyte of data, millions of US dollars, then we see no hope, right? So that's why I would say this is the number one problem Autonomous is trying to solve in a nice way. Now imagine, right, with this massive on-chain storage, and then with this compilation of keys and other cryptography-based methods, right? And we provide integrity, and we provide confidentiality, and more importantly, like this, right? It's all about public verification, as Lisa pointed out before, right? And we can offer like public verification, right, for all the components, for our T component, right, for this on-chain storage component, right, and for this computation component, like combining these two, right? Then finally, we will have the so-called foundation layer for this like future, right, like AI. So why is so that's why, right, from the technical perspective, we already covered, right, the major aspects, including fair compensation. I already explained, right, why fair compensation is possible, right, with all this combination of technologies. So good, right? Now we have technology. And the next question is, what else, right? In order to fulfill this vision, right? Like what else do we need? I think very few people are thinking about this. In my opinion, you know what? This is related to the so-called AI alignment problem. The thing is, what if AI is out of human's control? From AGI to AGI, artificial general intelligence, right? ASI, artificial super intelligence, right? So what if this most advanced AI is out of human control? Okay, maybe it's not a science fiction, but some leading AI researchers are deeply worried about this, right? And my perspective is previously our decentralized AI vision, right, might be one potential solution to this. you might ask why, right? Because previously, at least I didn't know like anyone making connection between these two problems, right? AI alignment problem and the decentralized, right, scalable like AI, right? So my observation is the following. It will personally, right, not on behalf of Autonomous or UBC, just my personal opinion, right? It's very dangerous to have maybe only 2 or 3 companies controlling ASI, right? They can have government, right? So
Right.
in my personal humble opinion, this is very dangerous. And we'd rather a more like decentralized power, right? And even better, right? How can we align like humans with AIs? I don't want to talk about that. It's not the topic today, right? I will focus on the previous point. Can we have this decentralized
Yes.
like ASI, right? The answer is yes, because previously the smart developers or AI model builders, right? Maybe for them, the best choice is to join companies like OpenAI, like Google DeepMind, right? They are clearly the best choices. But now, with this our new vision of right decentralized AI with this privacy guarantee, right, with this fair compensation, these smart people have one more choice, right? Maybe they can get more rewards from our ecosystem. I'm not saying that it is easy, okay? Let's be optimistic. If we can make it happen within 3 to 5 years, we can attract those smart AI model developers.
Well,
Right now, you began to see, right, why, why these two are related, and even better. And you might ask, can we, what is the comparison between the best closed AI models, like ChatGPT 3, right, and the best open source AI models? I would say previously the gap was big,
right.
but nowadays
So much.
the gap, right? Yeah, the gap is smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And I think 1 month ago, a Chinese startup released an open source AI model, DeepSeek V3, if I remember correctly, right? You can Google search its performance. It's amazing, right? Yeah, so this gives us a real hope. We are not just talking. Number one, to sum up, number one, open source AI models are becoming more and more powerful. Number two, decentralized AI, at least our vision, it's not today's decentralized AI, right?
Yeah.
Our vision of decentralized AI gives them a very good choice, right? If they are smart, if they share the same personal opinion as mine, so dangerous to have 2 or 3 companies control RSI, right? Then we might be able to solve this AI threats or the AI alignment problem, which I didn't realize before. And that's why, right, I'm so excited, I'm so eager, right, to share this view of point, right, to as many people as possible. We still have a time
We still
to
have time.
make
Yeah,
this
that's a
correct.
good message there. We're still in time to do things right
Very
and
much.
to
Yeah.
forge the right path forward, right?
So what we need to do is really to get all of the best AI developers to build on decentralized AI. You've heard it here. Like this
There
is
you go.
Yes.
this is the call
Yes.
to action. Very interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this is my vision, right? Now, right, you see, right, kind of, this is my vision of confidential AI and Web3, right? All together, maybe we can solve like that. Maybe someone called this maybe one of the biggest problem for human beings, right? If
Yeah.
ASI is out of control,
It is.
quite might be a disaster.
It is
So,
right.
right, this is my vision. Sorry, because I'm a teacher. Sometimes I speak too much when I that excited. Maybe it's not good for a podcast. Yeah, I really just want to share my ideas. I think they are important. Right? On the one hand, we still have some time. On the other hand, it's urgent.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
it's
I
important
think
to instill that sense of urgency and that sense of, the passion is infectious. And I think people will start to understand why it's so important before it's too late, right? There's like a very small window there for let's take action versus we've still got time. So, truly understand the sentiment there. And it's very impactful.
We need to get your message and your voice out there, I think, Chen. So this is one small way of doing it. But yeah, this is the message. This is the message. Yeah. I'm inspired. I'm going to get on board this train.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, Michael and Lisa. Let's continue.
So I think as we wrap it up, what I'm very interested in as well is the real world applications for this and how we can kind of see this technology implemented in real world use cases and whether or not it'll play a critical role in enabling. So the practical real world use cases with autonomous network, I know you're exploring TEEs will eventually play that critical role in enabling confidential computing and AI. So can you go over maybe a few of those real world use cases so people understand how it can be implemented?
Very good question. I will share with you a concrete example so that we understand what's going on. Currently, I'm working with some of my friends, to bring AI doctors to autonomous. Is one use case. So number one, why we need confidential computing? I think in this case, it's obvious because, healthcare information is sensitive, definitely, huge. Yeah, we need to protect such sensitive information. But I want to point out the motivation. Why, Why AI doctors first? Then I will quickly comment on the technology side, The motivation side. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, currently I'm living in British Columbia in Canada. We call it BC, In BC, 20% of people don't have family doctors.
Let me just point out that I am also in Canada, and I'm one of those people who does not have, I've been on a list waiting for a family doctor for 5 years.
Wow.
I know. Wow. Yeah, now, now you totally read my mind, Why? I want to share, the motivation. Another piece of evidence, and our school of engineering, had a new director, joined 1 year ago, and then he told me, dear, no family doctor. Yeah. So this is the number one, The second motivation, according to some research from Google DeepMind, it seems that for certain disease, AI doctors can do much better than human doctors in terms of diagnosis, So now we see that by combining these two motivations, it's clear, to ask, what if we can bring AI doctors, on the blockchain, and so that, many benefits as we discussed before, protect your private information, your sensitive information, and second, almost everyone can use at any time, So all kinds of advantages, and also because we have no intermediate, in terms of rewarding. Maybe hopefully it can reduce the cost, So this is one ongoing project we are trying to do, We are trying to build on top of Autonomous. And this particular example, in my opinion, might share many things in common with other real-world use cases, Because if you think in this way, and you just need the following. Number one, strong motivation. Why this real-world use case? What is a real problem you want to solve, And number two, our guarantee of privacy and confidentiality, whether it's good enough, right, for your use case. That's the second point, right? And then check about we can check the business model, right? And if right, and finally, right, check the technology, and if right, all of them are okay, then it's a good project to build, right? Not only on top of Autonomous, because we are not the only one, right? And doing this infrastructure. And in the future, and we hope to kind of join force, right, with other decentralized AI infrastructures. Because for the same reason, we don't want one right infrastructure dominates the entire market, right? Maybe a better solution is through this collaboration. Yeah. So this gives you right a concrete idea about what real world use cases, right, looks like, right, and in our platform. So what else? Oh, right, I mentioned right from the technology side. Yeah. So again, we need this massive on-chain data storage, right? Because with more and more use cases,
Right.
right, like this. Yeah. So it's so and then next, maybe we need a higher guarantee of privacy and security. And in particular for healthcare, the regulation in the healthcare sector is very strict. Like one last thing, don't get me wrong, and here, right, it's like a pioneering project. Oh, it's called a pilot project, right? Because I'm not saying that it will happen very soon. Maybe from end of this year, right? Now, the Canadians can enjoy AI doctors. Don't get me wrong, right? It's not something like this, healthcare regulation, right? So many hurdles along the way, right? What I want to do, what I convinced Autonomous to do is to showcase technology from the technology perspective. It is feasible. We need to have this first. Then we can try to work with regulation and other things, right? But the fundamental question, or not the fundamental, maybe what is the first question that even before we push towards this direction is how feasible it is, right? So that, in my opinion, is a relatively easy problem, but we can show the feasibility. And then with this feasibility, right, hopefully we can push things forward. And hopefully, right, this use case can inspire others to build more healthcare projects on the kind of Web3 empowered by confidential computing. That's I call it real world impact I am seeing towards this. And that's why what is the work again at a security network is so important. If you can enhance the security level, right, of keys, through smart design, smart combination, we will be in a much better position and to meet healthcare regulation and to kind of talk to governments, right, like this departments, whatever. Yes, this is my over a picture or idea about real world use cases. It's a great topic. Right? We should focus more on the real world use cases. I'm so happy you brought this up.
Yeah, it certainly hits home. I mean, it's talk about impact and how many lives that would change. I think that it becomes real for people. And like what you said about proving the feasibility first, and then going forward, if it's possible, then we can do it. And then we'll get it done. That's the most important part, which you say is not going to be the most challenging of all the hurdles, is just proving that feasibility. So you truly did paint a very vivid picture of what the world could look like and what we need to have done in order to get there. It's not going to happen overnight, but the important part is that it's in motion, right? And that
Correct.
people jump on board this train, right? Lisa,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Megan, and you put it in a better way. Yeah, that is an excellent summary.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Lisa, did you have anything to add to that? I mean, I kind of feel it's just, you're left reflecting. It's kind of like, yeah, you said you're a teacher. I feel like I'm in class now and I have to process all of this.
Yeah.
So maybe users will have to go, listeners will have to go back and re-listen to some of those parts because there's a lot of information packed into this.
It's time to give homework, right? So the homework is read all the research papers.
Yes, that's
Exactly.
great.
I will provide multiple research papers. So this is one side of the homework. The second side is think bigger, right? In terms of both real world human needs, such as healthcare, and also the kind of the threat from ASI. But still, we have some time to think about this before it's too late. So two types of homework problems.
Okay.
Oh, this is a very enlightening and inspiring conversation, Chen.
Yeah.
Truly, thank you for your insights and for the research that you've done and helping push this narrative along, because we need people like you in order for this to happen. Like Secret Network, this is, the beginning of the foundation of these pillars, for the future of this technology. So truly appreciate it. Lisa, I know you probably also have a lot of thoughts going on at this time and deeply involved in this field as well. So closing thoughts?
From me?
From both of you, I'd love to hear
okay.
few closing thoughts as we come to the end here.
I will say my piece, which is that I think AI can produce the most amazing conditions for living for the human race. Nirvana, we can solve diseases, we can provide better doctor care like you raised, better storage, or we could reach a human extinction. We could, the flip side is pretty dire. So how do we direct things towards the nirvana state? And I think what Autonomous is building, what Secret Network is building, is really the answer. Decentralized AI, fair compensation, a lack of control by any centralized party. That's what we're looking for. And this conversation has really validated those ideas and brought some depth and nuance to them. So I really appreciate your joining us on the podcast today, Chen.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, right? It's my great pleasure, right? And you, both of you, right? Very smart, very professional. Let me put it in this way, Lisa. Your summary is so good, right? That I don't want to provide my final remark. Listen to Lisa.
Absolutely. I like that. Let's close on that high note. And thank you for showing us that it's actually possible. I think people need to hear that over and over again. This is possible. It's not just science fiction. It's not just a theory. It's something that is actually going to be put into working motion, and it will make the biggest impact this world has ever seen. So, guys, thank you so much for such an amazing episode. And Chen, we hope to follow up with you on the research and those research paper homeworks for our listeners out there.
Yes.
All
right.
Yeah.
Until
thanks, guys. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chen.
Bye.